Good day, kids. So I made a mistake. I've got one of these little microphones. I'm not using it right now. I used it on the last video I did. I don't know if it worked good or not yet because I haven't actually listened to it to see if the microphone worked, but I popped it in my phone this morning to use it today, but I forgot to use the microphone. I just used the thing on the end of the thing, on the end that goes in the phone. And so when I looked at the video again, there was no audio because I had not turned the microphone on. So me and technology, eh? Gen X. And that's another thing, is that comment by Kobe on one I posted, I think yesterday or maybe Saturday. He told me to do it sideways, and fair enough. I understand. I looked up a video on it on YouTube as well to see that you should always record things sideways if you're posting onto YouTube. And well, I didn't do it, and so I guess it didn't turn out so well, the angle and everything. And I get it. I'll keep going forward, moving the way you're supposed to with it sideways, but I just don't get it, because here's the thing. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. If you're watching the video with the phone in the upright position, why in the world do you actually have to film sideways? I don't know. I don't quite get the whole thing, but I'll just trust it and move forward the way it is. The other thing was, there was no Kobe this morning, so it was only a solo one with me. Kobe's sick at home in bed, so no car talk with Kobe on the way to school in the morning. And he's sick. So why do you get sick? Some people would say it's because you caught a virus, you caught a germ, bacteria. That's the whole germ theory thing. And that's not quite right, I don't think. I don't agree with it. The reason I don't is because if you take somebody who has no symptoms, and therefore they think they're healthy because they don't have any symptoms, and you do a throat swab, you're going to find at least a good 50 organisms in there which are bad, ugly stuff. But yet they're not sick. And so what actually makes you sick is when you don't have an immune system that's working as well as it should. Maybe it's depleted. And it could be depleted because, well, not enough sleep, not enough nutrients. Your diet isn't good enough. Too much bad food, not enough exercise. You know, all kinds of things, and the sleep and the attitude, all kinds of things which can bring you down. Also, particularly this time of year, you've got much less sunlight, so you get a lot less vitamin D. You've got a lot more junk food lying around because we're coming up to the holidays. So, you know, the extra sugar doesn't help either. And all of these things increase inflammation in the body. They deplete your immune system. And that's the issue. It's not the viruses. It's not the bacteria. Now, of course, you go drown yourself in a cesspool of crap. I mean, of course you're going to pick something up. I mean, it's a matter of, is your immune system strong enough to overcome the stresses that it has to deal with? So you might want to decrease the stresses a bit, right? Like, don't go swimming in a cesspit. But at the same time, you do have to focus on what you can do that's good for you, what's strengthening your immune system. So, yeah. But having said that, you know, I'll talk about health a whole bunch. And I will fully admit that when I got home Saturday night after playing hockey, I had a whole tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream because, well, I deserved it. I played hard. I played well. Well, it was just fun. But still. So there you go. It's about what you do for maintenance. So I'm still learning all this stuff about about technology, but maintaining your health, you know, work hard at it. You have to keep going. I just put up, or I'm going to post also, these little shorts sometimes of me in an ice tub, because I just got out of the ice tub a few minutes ago, and I don't quite get it, but the thermometer said that the water was -2. Now it's supposed to freeze at 0. Maybe it's because there's a little chlorine in the water, so that would, you know, a little solute in the water will decrease the freezing temperature. So it could be that. I don't know. But anyways, it was chilly. It was a bit cold. That's overall good for the health too. Mind you, if you are sick, you shouldn't go in the ice tub. But if you're not sick, if you're not actively expressing symptoms, then they can be really good for overall inflammation in the body, increasing dopamine levels, and make you feel good mentally and physically, and it's great for recovery from exercise. So it's all good stuff. You know what? I feel kind of. I had a whole bunch of things I spoke about in the video this morning, and all you do is just see me yapping away there with no audio. Trying to remember what we spoke about is a little bit difficult, but it is what it is. So there you go. So this is just a short one. Maybe, I don't know. What kind of we got going on now? What could I speak about? We got traffic jams here that we're coming up to. When I was a kid, I remember going out. I can tell you losing my teeth. We had an ice storm. And it was really neat because I think I was about 10 years old, 12 years old or something at the time. We had this big ice storm. And so that basically means it was raining out, but it was colder than zero. And so every time all the rain that fell froze immediately. And literally for a few days in a row, what we would do is step outside your front door, put your hockey skates on, and we'd just start skating. We'd skate up and down the sidewalks, the roads, everything, because it was just ice everywhere. And one night, we were up behind the school that was just across the street, up the road a bit, and we were playing some game on skates, and I was skating around as fast as I could. We were probably playing tag or something like that, and I hit the one little patch where there was no ice, and it was just concrete. Maybe there was a bit of salt or something so that the ice didn't freeze there, but nonetheless, it was late, it was dark, I couldn't see it. Hit the patch of concrete and went face down, straight into the ground, busted out my 2 front teeth, and there you go. So I had to go and get 2 fake ones put in. I've lost those teeth a few times. I lost them another time I was eating like a toffee thing, and I took a bite, and then at one point I opened up my mouth and my teeth were stuck inside the toffee. So that kind of sucked. Another time I was eating a chocolate bar. I remember it was an O. Henry chocolate bar. I was on my bike, riding around, chomping on this chocolate bar, and it was crunch, crunch, then crackle, crackle, crackle. And I didn't even notice that my teeth had come out, and I ended up eating one of my teeth. Another time I fell off my bike, lost them again. I can't remember. I think I've lost them another 1 or 2 times as well. And so I've got these fake teeth, my 2 front ones. The root's still in, so they just put veneers on, or caps, or crowns, or I don't know what they call them. And so that's my losing my teeth stories. I don't know, what's another one? Fun one. Oh, I got a fish lure. Also, I was probably around 12 years old or so. I was at a camp up northern Ontario, and at this camp, it was like we'd stay there for a week or 2 weeks. I can't remember how long it was, but we had done an extra little trip where some of the kids, I don't know how many of us, 10 or so, they probably did it with a bunch of kids at a time, but we'd hop in a few canoes, and we did some portaging. So we hiked. That means we took off across a lake on the canoe, then hiked with the canoe to the next lake, boated across there again, and eventually we got to where we were setting up camp with our tents and stuff. And we're playing hide and seek, I think it was, at night, and I was running around, and all of a sudden I got hooked. Somebody had put their fishing rod leaning up against the tree, and I ran by, and it caught the lure just right in my eyelid. Didn't get my eye. I was really, really, really lucky. But nonetheless, the lure went through my eyelid, and probably just missed my eyeball by a millimeter or so. And so a couple of counselors took me in a canoe, and they paddled me. So they taped up the lure against my eye so that it wouldn't get pulled off at all. And they paddled me back to the main campground. And then we hopped in a car and we drove, I want to say, an hour to 2 hours or so to get to the hospital in Elliott Lake. And that's when the doctors would have taken off the barb and then pulled it out. And then sent me back to camp, kicked me in the shins, get up kid, let's go. That was another little close call that I had. And I guess while we're talking about Northern Ontario, I remember going to a horse camp as well. And one time when we were not riding the horses, we just gone into the arena, me and a few kids, and we were running and hurdling over the jumps that they had set up for the horses. And I must have tripped or something. I hit my head, and I was unconscious. All I remember is waking up sometime later. That's all I remember about that one. So that's probably my first concussion that I remember. Oh, now we're on concussion stories. I've only got a couple, I've got a bunch of concussion stories. I'm also looking at the time because I've got to use my GPS right now to get to where I'm going. And another concussion was car accident. That was when I was 13. Remember that, driving in the car on my way to hockey practice. I was with a friend, Randy Smith. His dad was driving, and we were just about at the rink in Preston, and some lady ran a red light and T-boned us. So she hit us right behind the passenger door, which is where I was sitting, was in the passenger seat. We were in a pickup truck, and Randy and I felt fine, so we just grabbed our hockey bags and we kept walking the 2 blocks to get to the arena. And his dad stuck around to talk with the police and everything. And the next day, I was sitting in class, and all of a sudden, I couldn't move anything in my body. Like, I could move nothing except my eyeballs. So I don't really remember what happened next. I assume I was taken to the hospital, but don't remember that. I do remember being taken to our local chiropractor, Gary Goodyear, and he's the one that got me moving again and got me going. The only problem is that at that time, I think I was scoring about 3 or 4 goals a game. And from that moment going forward, I probably scored about 1 goal every 3 or 4 games. So I felt fine, but my agility and my coordination had obviously suffered quite a bit. And even after that, all through high school, the sports I excelled at, I excelled at not at rowing. I didn't do rowing until university. I excelled at running. And then also, I did well in football, but that's mostly not because I was any good at playing football. I wasn't. It was just the speed. So, because again, I couldn't change directions very well. So I only did half decent at football because I'd get the ball, run towards the sideline, and then go cut up field and see if anybody could catch me. But I'd really lost that coordination and the agility. Lots of little concussions, just from, probably some bigger ones too, just from playing American football in high school, and then also from playing hockey. I had a big one. I'm hesitant to tell this story just because of my timing, and I gotta, get back to this GPS. But I did have a big one when I was, maybe it would have been about 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. Was at the ice rink, and I had my daughters with me. Actually, the whole family was there, but my daughters were sitting on the ice, particularly Kyla. She's 5 years old at the time. Yeah, so it must have been 9 years ago. She's 14 now. And we had all forgotten our skates. We forgot the bag of skates at the front door. So I had rented skates, which were figure skates. And they had a little pick on the end. They're just everything about figure skates were different than hockey skates. And I'd never worn figure skates before in my life. So I just got my skates on, stepped onto the ice, and some guy was just about, like some older teenager or early 20s, just about to run into Kyla. Like he was going full tilt ahead, but he was looking backwards. So I tried to get in front of him, but I could hardly move. So I basically just threw myself in front of the guy, just before he hit Kyla. He hit me, ran into me, and I went flying, hit my head on the ice, and that put me out. Like my head was hurting pretty bad. Like I heard a crack and everything. The next day, this was on a Friday now, so it was Thursday that I hit my head. Friday, I went to work and I had a headache, but that was about it. And I was surprised that I felt so good, just having a headache. Saturday is when things got bad. I think I might have to press stop on this and continue the story in a little bit. But anyways, I'm gonna let it go for now. Check back soon. Alright kids, sorry for that little interlude. As you can see, the sun's gone down now. So where was I? I was talking about concussions, and what's the last one I had? Yeah, the next day I went to work, had a headache, whatever. It was the next day, on Saturday, that I was at a grocery store, and that's when everything went crappy. All of a sudden, everything turned into a kaleidoscope. The noises were crazy loud. All the colors looked like they were all blurred and almost like a kaleidoscope. And I remember that I did collapse on the floor in the store. I don't remember how long I was on the floor for. I seem to remember that nobody helped me. I think once I felt like I could get up, I got up and I somehow made it to my car and went home. I walked in the door and my wife was ready to walk out the door as I got there. And so, yeah, I think I kind of lost it a bit too at home. I threw a TV. I know the kids were all scared of me. My wife, when she came home, she basically yelled at me to go to my room. And so I went to my bed and I stayed in bed the rest of the day. The next day was her birthday and I still didn't get out of bed. So later in the day, she ended up taking me to the hospital. Quite frankly, I thought I would just get like a scan of my head, make sure that there was no internal bleed or something like that, and then I'd go home. And as it turned out, I ended up staying in the hospital for about 2 weeks. I lost a ton of weight. I had all kinds of infections. I don't think they ever really found out what was wrong. I know they thought I had pneumonia. I don't know if they ever got that confirmed or not. I know my parents came from Canada to Luxembourg because I think my wife actually thought that I was potentially going to die because my infection levels kept getting worse and worse, and I didn't know how to get it down, and they didn't know what the problem was, and I'd lost so much weight. But anyways, a couple weeks later, I slowly recovered, and then I went back to work. I think I lasted a couple days, and I don't know who called who, whether it was my wife called my secretary or my secretary called my wife, one way or another. They basically pulled the plug on me and said, okay, you're not working anymore. So my secretary, Amy, she rescheduled everybody. Tracy ended up getting a house down in the south of France just so we could get away, because that way we'd be sure that I wouldn't work. And we were gone for a couple weeks. And then again, I slowly came back to work after that. That was the last big concussion. The last concussion I remember right now, at the moment, I don't know if maybe there was another one or not, but I'd gone skiing, I went snowboarding with my sons Luke and Kobe. When I was snowboarding, which I can't snowboard, I fell and I hit my head. I don't think it was a hard one. I think it was a pretty, it was a bit of a hit, but I've had much softer. But the thing is after that, I was laughing at everything. Luke, I remember, was wearing like a Christmas sweater. It was a picture of a dinosaur with a Santa Claus hat on, and there was cats flying on pizza and everything. It was like a really bright sweater, and that just made me laugh hysterically. like bright lights were just making me laugh. And then I remember as well, it took about 2 or 3 weeks to get my writing where I could like handwrite things back to the point where I could legibly write. So I remember writing a few things down and just thinking, I can't read this. And then I tried to write more carefully, and I really tried to write carefully, and I was not capable of writing. It just the fine motor skills were gone. And again, it took a few weeks to gradually get that back again to the point where I could actually read my own writing, with actually putting effort into the writing. So yeah, the concussions were there. Bunch of car accidents, playing football being the one, I was always the wide receiver and the tailback, and so people were hitting me all the time. Probably had a few playing ice hockey growing up as well. And yeah, concussions aren't good. And I mean, what do they affect? I mean, my life is my life, so I don't know if it would have been any different if I didn't have those concussions. I don't know. But, I've struggled with a lot of things. I've struggled with, self-esteem issues. I've really struggled with depression at times. I also work really hard at trying to overcome that, right? I was in the ice tub earlier today, and I've been going in that regularly, and I find the high-intensity sport helps a lot. How much of that is because of concussions? I don't have a clue. Maybe 100%, maybe 0%. Somewhere in between. I don't know. But it's a question, right? It definitely is a question that I'll never have the answer to. But yeah, I mean, it's a part of your health. Sometimes we think about health as far as, what are you eating and your exercise, but your mental health, the any traumas to your brain, how does that affect everything? I think it can affect anything once you start having traumas to your brain, because if you've got a problem in your lower back, there's like a short list of symptoms that will come about because of the nerves down there and where they go. But once you start talking about your head, I mean, that could cause anything. That in itself could cause sciatic pain. I mean, probably not. There's probably other things that are going to happen first, but something to think about. I don't even know how I got on the topic of concussions. I just know that as I'm coming in here now, that's what I was talking about before. I just don't remember how it got there. But I guess also that's kind of the point of these things, is just to start talking, start giving my thoughts on life, some of my experiences, and what I've been through, what I've done to try and overcome it. Probably overcoming things for me the best way has always, generally speaking, has been high intensity exercise. I think that's been a big help for me. I don't think there's been a detriment to it, aside from any injuries, of course, but aside from that, I think I've always benefited big time from the high intensity stuff, whether that was running. Even now, when I go for a run, I very rarely will just go for a jog. My runs will still be high effort. There'll be interval training, or maybe it's not even intervals. Maybe it's just, I'm going for 5K, but I'm going to do that 5K, as hard as I can. Okay, maybe not as hard as I can, but at a pretty good pace for me, for effort-wise, we'll say. And yeah, even when I'm playing hockey, I try not to coast out there. I try to get on the ice and go. I think I'm more of a grinder, mostly because when I started playing hockey again, I think I was 45. I first went on the ice looking to do a workout, so I'd get out there and try and work hard because I wanted to work out. Where some of the other guys are out there working hard, of course, but maybe they're a lot more focused on skill and technique and stuff, and I should probably do a lot more of that. But yeah, I'm looking for a good workout. So go hard or go home. All right, we're gonna leave it at that one for today, and we'll see what we come up with tomorrow. Have a good one, y'all.